I'm going to start.
Excellent. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Paul once again, and welcome to Mark My Words. This podcast offers glimpses into alternative paradigms, and these paradigms we're thinking might just lie just beneath the surface of our everyday life. And we typically try to ask a question with each one of these episodes. What if? And of course, we have Mark Cornelius here, author of numerous books that we've discussed in our first series. And Mark, I guess one thing that you and I have discussed in the past, by the way, hello.
Hello.
One of the things that we've discussed with some of the elements over the time that we've had Mark My Words is that element of, well, you know, it's always good to be prepared about things. And we've kind of used that term, let's keep our bags packed. And they can either be the physical bag themselves, our spiritual bags, our emotional bags, whatever it is that we're looking at, especially as they relate to the particular topic that we're, of which we're speaking and everything. There have been some exciting things that have happened in the world of, I guess, of science and astronomy and all kinds of other little elements that we've seen that have been known for some time. I think there's a black hole out there. And you'd written a book concerning this, something like this, actually a whole series, the Ruach Saga. But I'm going to turn this over to you so you can talk a little bit about keeping our bags packed.
Well, okay then. And let's just start by sharing. Okay, I'm crossing over dangerously into an area which may or may not be a spiritual issue for some. However, there is a scriptural reference to things that, whether you are spiritual or not, applies. So I'm just going to throw that out there. It's right there on the screen. Comes from 2 Corinthians 4:18. Again, you do not have to be a scriptural or a spiritual person to look at this, but you might want to consider this idea that as we look not to things that are seen, we look to things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. And right down below that is a thing that you cannot see with the naked eye. Right, Paul?
Absolutely. No matter how hard I've tried, I cannot see that with my naked eye.
If you do see that with the naked eye, it means you need to get to the optometrist right away.
Very quickly, with a quickness.
So that is, of all things, in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy, in a place called Sagittarius A. That is a black hole. It's a very recent picture, and the reason it's blurry is because that puppy is way, way out there, 26,000 light years away from us. It is massive, being so let's see, I think what was it, 700 times or maybe 500 times?
I think the last reference that I looked at, which I think was National Geographic, if we may drop a term, another name or something like that, but I think it said it was like 400 million times.
400 million times the size of our sun. And what that is the light shining around that is the when something comes near to a black hole, it's going to get hot. So that's the matter around the black hole getting hot before it goes into who knows what. And we don't know what's in the middle of a black hole. There's all sorts of speculation. So I speculated, and I turned it into a storyline. By the way, the term for this, if you ever want to look it up, this particular micro quasar is called V4641, for anyone who cares to know. But if you don't care to know, just know that this is a centerpiece of a three-book series called the Ruach Saga, but it starts off with the singularity. That is a singularity right there. So I'm going to take it off screen now because we don't need to continue sharing that. But the idea is there are things out there that we don't know anything about. The V4641 singularity, by the way, one of the things that people don't understand is it's moving. And that is supposedly, by today's physics, impossible. Okay, it's not.
We don't even know how. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
unmeasurable also, right?
unmeasurable, impossible, all the M words, you know. But the other thing about it is that that picture that we were just seeing is thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. We can see, you know, a for lack of a better term, that's a dim lit mirror right there. But we don't know what it looks like today. And we don't know where it is, honestly, today. We know where it was thousands and thousands of years ago. What's that mean for us? You walk around your daily life and say, nothing. You know, absolutely nothing to us, right? I mean,
that would be our assumption.
That would be our assumption. However, what if that assumption is all wrong? You know, there's that what if right there. What if the universe is not what we think it is? So I wanted to tease with that because we're going to be talking about a whole series of things about whose reality is it anyway. And you are very right, Paul, to lead off with, is your bag packed? Well, that would infer, are we going somewhere? You know,
let's hope so.
Maybe we're just staying right put. And it also might be, I'll give a great example. Week back, we had a terrible storm up here in South Dakota, 100-mile-an-hour straight winds. And we were taught very quickly on the fly, literally, have your bags packed. Now, our bags weren't packed to go anywhere. They were packed to stay right here, but with provisions so that we were down in the basement waiting for who knew what. We didn't know what, you know, and when we got through with it, thankfully, we were all safe. Other people were not as fortunate. Are we ready for the unseen that may surprise us at any time? And that's really what this whole series is going to be about. There's the whole idea that if we just go about our lives thinking everything is fine, everything is going just the way we want it, or I want it, or whatever, and it's just going to keep on going that way, you will be surprised someday. Maybe not today, but you will be caught by surprise, because I don't know, Paul, maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to throw this out there to you. Have you ever been not surprised over the long term by what life delivers?
Oh, no, never. As a matter of fact, my surprises have been many, and so many unexpected, unassumed realities, if you will, or instances of some reality somewhere. And I love what you said about whose reality is it anyway, because we don't know. In many ways, we don't know just exactly where or why some of these things just pop up. I know in my past, in my careers that I've had, things have popped up that I would never, if you'd have told me 10 years prior to that's where I would be, I would be very hesitant to say, oh boy, that's exactly where I know that's where I'm going. And so this is pertinent.
So many examples. Yeah. So, okay, there's the, and I'm going to throw out a big, long French term, laissez-faire. There is the laissez-faire approach, which is take life as it comes, right? So there's a laissez-faire approach. Well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and I'm just going to flow with it, and no matter what. And then there is the I want to search approach. Maybe I won't find the answers, but don't I want to question life and existence and where it's headed and what might I find? So you have really in those two packages, you have the two kinds of methods of critical thinking, which, one says, I'm going to examine this and see what's around me and see if there's maybe some evidence that I need to be considering for what's going to go on later on, right? Or I'm just going to take it as it is, and I'm going to make up my own reality from it as I go along. Because when it happens, then I'll say, this happened because, somewhere out there is a purple people eater. I don't know, whatever it would be. So what do we do instead? Do we examine and critically think through, or do we make up reality as we go along? I can't answer that question for anyone. All I can do is answer it for me.
And we can have these kinds of, and for our audience as well, this is maybe seemingly headsy, but in many ways it's not. It can be very simple. We're going to do our best to keep it as simple as possible.
Right.
And obviously, neither one of us knows any real answers. And I'm using the term real very loosely because, just as Mark had said, there's not really, some of the things that we might be mentioning are unseen. There are terms that we use like perspective, perception. We use all kinds of different terms to try to define some of these things ourselves, don't we? And the good part about this, and the good part about our conversation is that in some of the writings that Mark has done as well, there are some real strong relational, there's a relational attitude that kind of comes across with that. And I was impressed with the trilogy itself, with the Ruach Saga, because all of this kind of comes together in what Mark has basically come up with, very cleverly, by the way. And we'll just find out and see how this series goes as it relates to just exactly what Mark has said here. With it, now, do we just keep our bags packed? And that's a great question. So back to you, Mark. I didn't mean to drift.
No, you're drifting fine. And you, thank you for keeping my feet on the ground, because we were both tempted, I know, to go off into some ethereal thoughts. But the only question I really want to ask, and I'm not going to answer it today, this is going to be the series as we go along, but if it's not my reality or your reality, Paul, or any other individual's reality, whose reality is it? And if it is some kind of a reality that affects us all, that is greater than all of us, wouldn't you maybe want to know more about that reality and whose it is? So I'm going to dangle that one out there as a critical thought, to ponder for this. And also, I want to thank you. The series is a fictional series based on some realities, proposed realities that might be out there that have not been considered. When I started writing the Ruach Saga, or it started with the Singularity, it was with a thought. Well, the universe seems so well explained by what we know, And what we know is that there was this big bang, and this big bang started a big thing, and light and motion and movement and all that. And oh, that sounds wonderful. That sounds really cool. Until they found out that maybe the Big Bang was not what we thought it was. And here's a singularity in the middle of our Big Bang, in the middle of this galaxy that's moving, which isn't supposed to be moving. And so suddenly the reality changes. And that's why I wanted to bring it back around to this. All I'm proposing is that what if our reality, our thinking on reality, needs to be adjusted a little bit? What if we need to consider alternative theories? And when I say that, the Big Bang theory is just that. So we build all of these levels of explanation on top of a theory. What happens, critically thinking, if that theory is in error? What happens to all the things we have built on it?
You lose the platform.
You lose the platform.
But since we're talking about the singularity, and of course, you and I have discussed before what happens to time and space and our physics and all of our other theories that go along with that, if we lose that platform. My question is something that is a little bit more personal from this standpoint. So I'm going to ask you a quick question here. You mentioned your 3 books. When you were, and we were talking about expectations and assumptions of the things in the future, things to come. When you were writing The Singularity, did you have the trilogy in mind, or were you just writing a single book, a singular
singularity
story? Yeah. So to me, because of what you had just said, that's a perfect example unto itself to me, that there was a change of reality if you suddenly realized that you had 3, not 1 books in mind, and a storyline that would go across many different and many different pages, and also extend itself further than what you had originally imagined. So I guess my question is that for you as an expectation, at what point did you feel as if you had more than just a single book? I know it's a deep one.
It is. Well, I'm going to keep it simple. It's just like what happened when I wrote Rut Management. I thought, one and done, one and done. That was going through my mind, one and done. Somebody said I would write a book, I'm going to write that book, and that's a one and done. Until I got to the end and said, oh my gosh, there's so much more. And isn't that what daily life is all about? You say, okay, my reality is changing daily. So I look at it and I go, okay, tomorrow I'm going to get up, same old thing. That's what people think a rut means. But a rut is leading you to a destination. And along that rut path are so many things that pull into it that it changes the reality as you're going. So same thing with the singularity. As I wrote it, I said, oh my gosh, if those theories could be in question, what other theories could be in question? And there's I'm going to use a funny word, faith, that goes into it. Say, am I in danger of losing my existence? And what happens then? So I started unpacking my bag and saying, do I need this? Do I need this part? Or, am I going to need a toothbrush if, what is it? And what happened was I started putting things in that really had been changed by my reality thinking, my critical thinking, and saying, I don't need an electric razor. The power's going to be out. I need something else. So these things reshape me and reshape my thinking to such a degree that my faith was not, I'm going to say, I didn't lose faith. My faith was strengthened. Again, one of those scriptural things that people may not buy into or not, but I'm just going to say faith is the foundation of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. Okay, twist your mind around that again. I'll repeat it. Faith is the faith is the foundation of things hoped for, and the evidence of things unseen. You guys think about that. We'll go back to that later. But what it means is, as we're talking about singularities, I see that and I go, well, okay, that doesn't destroy my faith. It encourages me to find out how it relates to my faith. And by doing that, it strengthens my faith in things that I hope for and encourages me to find a way to explain my faith through it. And another book comes out of it. Right?
There you go. And that's precisely where things are.
Yeah.
Is what you just basically said, was is that when those things start transitioning into something else, now we have the capability of being able to go back and check what's in the toolkit and see what's exactly in the bag and whether we may need it or not. And your example was pretty strong there too, pretty straightforward.
Ever been to a funeral, by the way?
Many times.
Yeah. Every time you go to a funeral and you walk out the door afterwards, after everybody's gotten together, say, it was great to see everyone. It was wonderful to reflect on the life that has passed on. Really made me think about my existence.
There you are.
Bam! There's
there it is.
So are you going to wait till after your funeral or before your funeral to consider that?
And that's therein lies the rub. And we don't know when that. Actually, my father-in-law used to say, we do not know how many ticks are left on the clock.
Amen.
And unlike a game where you can call a timeout or something like that and stop the clock, that clock continues to run no matter what. And it's not really up to us to determine when that clock is going to stop. But there are things we can do that help us.
Right. I'll even throw another query in there. I'm going to start throwing out teasers because I want to kind of wrap through this and then get to the end so people will come back. Speaking of which, one of the premises in the singularities, what if there is no time? And I'm not talking about an ending of time. I'm talking about what if time itself is not quite the reality we think it is. And so that's a critical thinking thing. We're going to be going through perspectives and propaganda of what one person's thought over another person's thought is. Deductive and inductive thinking, that's that laissez-faire versus the what if contingency. We're going to talk about how we think, but also apply it to what we hear and what we don't hear. And we're going to be playing with a lot of honest evaluation of ourselves and trying to encourage people to look at this introspectively and not just say, well, Mark said this, so I buy into it. That's the last thing I want to happen. I want it to be, Mark said this and I thought about it and I think differently. Great. You know, this is how we think.
You're so right. And also, for those who are listening, that is the whole point of this exercise. This is to not only as we think and everything contribute, get in touch with us so that you're able to. And by the way, many of these thoughts and everything that we're talking about for this series are things that folks have asked and that folks might be interested in. More than one person might be more interested in some of these other topics as well. So please make some suggestions because we can certainly take a look at them, right, Mark?
Subtle segue, Paul. Very nicely done. So
there we are.
There we are. We would love to get people's input. We would love to dialogue with them. We would love to get their introspections so that we can mid-rush together. There's that thing, you know, if anyone's watched before, they know what that means. Get some friction going, just like in the universe. So here's some ways to do that. I'd love for you to email us at markcwrites@gmail.com. There is a Facebook page, which is Mark My Words with dashes between. But more importantly, you can also go to the website, rutmanagement.com, pick up a book, The Singularity, and start reading. And you may get into it and say, this is a lot of nothing. Or you might say it's a lot of something. Either way, read through and see what you think, and then give us some reactions. And then you can pick up our YouTube selections right there. So, you know, if you want to freeze your screen, anyone who's watching out there, write these down diligently or copy and paste or whatever it takes and get back to us. We really want to hear from you and dialogue with you and come back on it.
Absolutely. And I think that we're probably at that spot where we can say goodbye to everybody and better, you know, just basically tune out right now. We've definitely given a lot of folks a lot of food for thought, and certainly given me some more food for thought. So, Mark, thank you very much, and thanks for popping that bad boy up there because I was hoping that would come up on the screen this go around. For those who have not seen some of the previous episodes, there's where you'll find them. We have an extensive archive of our conversations in Mark My Words. So, Mark, thanks once again, man.
Thank you, Paul. As always, great. And to all of or any of you listening out there, come on back and let's find out whose reality it truly is.
There we go. We may have an answer, we may not, but we'll certainly have a good conversation.
We will explore it together. Exactly. All right. Thanks.
All right. Next time, folks. Thank you very much.
Next time.